Welcome to SVG-TV News for Monday, August 24th, 2020. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. Several residents of Bucament Valley and Pasture in South Rivers were affected by the flash floods over the weekend due to the passage of Tropical Storm Laura. Director of the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, Michelle Forbes, told SVGTV News today that several families in these communities had to be placed in emergency shelters as a precautionary measure. She said an assessment was done and it was found that while a number of yards were flooded in several communities, there was no major damage. And for those who had to spend Friday night in shelters, she said that a necessary assistance were provided to these persons who were back in their homes by Saturday.
Actually, Friday night, 5 families in South Rivers had to go to an emergency shelter right there in South Rivers, the Emmanuel Baptist Church, and 15 persons in Bucament had to seek shelter at the Bucament Secondary School overnight. So they stayed at the shelter overnight. As indicated, we would have done the assessment, and those persons whose home would have been washed out, they were given a food package, and those whose mattresses were damaged and so on, we provide some assistance for them right away.
Forbes said that the areas affected by the flash floods are communities prone to flooding, noting that several inches of rain were registered prior to Friday evening.
Also the regular spots, if you notice when we follow up from the Met Office reports, we always highlight those areas. So South Rivers is always an area that we highlight. Also Bucament and a few other communities, because the rains were falling during the day already Friday in the mountains, so we already had seen some increased rainfall. For example, in Spring Village before 6 o'clock on Friday afternoon, we would have already have over 3 inches of rainfall in the catchment area. Same thing for South Rivers, we would have had over 2 inches even before we had that heavy rains on Friday night. So that it was not surprising to us, because we had already seen the rains in the mountains.
The NEMO director is reminding persons of the active hurricane season and for you to remain vigilant.
In St. Vincent and the Grenadines to pay closer attention to the systems that are coming across. In Friday's case, even though Laura was to the north of St. Vincent, approaching with the northern Leeward Islands, we saw that we would have had pieces trailing on the south and affected us. So we need to be vigilant and need to remember that we can be impacted at any time from heavy rains and flood waters.
A number of homes in the Bucament Valley were flooded out, but according to some residents, it could have been worse had it not been for the river defense work and the dedication of workmen on site who did their best to prevent severe flooding in the area. The heavy rains on Friday evening caused the rivers to swell, flowing over the incomplete second layer of gabion basket being used as part of the river defense work. One resident said that the workmen responded quickly to build a dam as a protective cover.
The water was coming over there where those boulders are, and the guys stopped what they were doing otherwise and fixed it so the water didn't get to come over where it usually would. But Friday night it rained heavy, as I said before, and so they were at this level. The baskets were at that level down there, the second level there. The baskets were there, so the water bounced over these baskets and come over here, which it never would have done, right? That never happened before. So, but I must say thanks, because these guys came out early Saturday morning at 6. They were here walking and just trying to get it fixed so that we didn't have to worry anymore about this happening during Saturday night, because we were also expecting another. Remember, we were expecting flash floods on Saturday midday. So by Saturday midday, they were basically done fixing it, and so persons could have slept a little bit easier Saturday night.
According to NEMO, 15 persons from the Bucament Valley took up shelter on Friday evening. One of the affected persons told SVGTV News he lost everything, while another said while he is grateful for the river defense work, there is still much more work to be done to protect the area, which is prone to flooding.
Come right over, wash me out, and then he gone. Wash out my house. I lose everything. I lose everything.
And I live around here for all years, and the water will affect this area, as which you see in the gutter here, and by the school, this yard, and other people. But since the guy them working and the rain fall, they didn't finish. So little water still come in. So we just hopefully, because they're doing a fine job still, we just hopefully, when they finish up there by the school, that the water will cease. But down here, we need fixing, because if you notice, the water don't run here, right? And this gutter here is one of the main subjects that we really need to fix. And to get this thing done, they got to bring it up and make a slipper drain, and the water and go by itself. When it comes down, you just bring down lag, coconut tree, maca tree, all kind of stuff just come down. If you go by the bridge, they see where it jam all to the side. That's it. So we need some attention with them stuff there.
Several lives were lost during the December 2013 floods, including persons from the Bukoment Valley. One resident told our news team it is usually difficult for them when it is raining heavily, knowing that the river can easily burst its banks and cause havoc in the area.
With this being fixed, we are all at ease, we sleep easier, we no longer have to be wandering and sitting up to listen out for the river coming over and all of that. Well, it's been basically neighborly, helping each other, supporting each other, and with the Red Cross, the Red Cross has also helped a lot in training persons in basic first aid, first responders training, and building awareness in floods and what you should do and how you should prepare the community and things like that. Well, I should say thank you to Hutchinson's Construction Limited for doing this for us. And it's not that people would say that I shouldn't say thank you because they're not doing it for free, but the thing is the work and the dedication of these guys is above and beyond what I saw on Friday, because the river was coming down heavy, and they were in the river walking to make sure the water didn't come over.
In other news, leader of the opposition New Democratic Party, Dr. Godwin Friday, said that a democratic process was used in arriving at the selection and ratification of the candidate who will contest the Maracay seat on the NDP ticket in the upcoming general election. Bernard Wiley was ratified by the party's Central Committee last Thursday over Kirk De Silva, who won the majority vote 15 at the constituency level. Dr. Friday told SVGTV News there was an outcry from NDP supporters in the Maracay constituency on the selection of De Silva, following which he visited the constituency to get the views of the people. He said the people called for Wiley to represent them, hence a decision was made by the Central Committee after consultation.
The way it is, sometimes, you know, the constituency division may have a certain view. They are like anybody else, they're humans, and the reasons why they made this election, it's on their own personal decision and choice. And so when we have a chance to hear from the broader populace, and this is the first time this ever happened, by the way, where you had this popular outcry about the election and saying, well, it doesn't reflect the will of the people in the constituency, and if we want to win the election, that we should get the candidate who is the best candidate. And so the people in the constituency basically were driving the process. And for me, it's a matter of giving the people what they want in order to win the election. And I think all the candidates ultimately recognized that Wiley gives us the best chance. And people are saying, well, Wiley's from the past and so on. The point is, it doesn't matter if this is what the people want. If this is what the people want to win the election, this is the candidate that they want, and I'm satisfied that that's what they've indicated. And so we give them the best chance to win the election, because ultimately that is what I want, because I want to change the government.
The NDP leader said that he met with all candidates prior to the ratification of Wiley, as they were asked to give a presentation on their reasons why they choose to run for office and represent the NDP. Dr. Friday said at a follow-up meeting, 3 of the prospective candidates, Philip Jackson, Curtis Bowman, and Kirk De Silva himself, stepped aside, leaving Wiley as the lone candidate.
And so I give the people an opportunity to express themselves, and the Central Committee, having been informed of this, also made the decision. Well, the Central Committee had given the opportunity to all the candidates to present, and I presented to the Central Committee as well, and then the 3 candidates withdrew, leaving Mr. Wiley as the only candidate to be ratified by the Central Committee. The Central Committee did that, and did it, you know, and then we had an endorsement of the entire slate of the party that's going forward to contest the election. So
Dr. Friday said it has always been about getting the right candidate to win the constituency for the NDP, and the selection process is usually the most difficult. He said they are now confident that the party stands a better chance of winning the Maracay seat with Wiley.
Persons who framed the Constitution so many years ago, Mr. Emery Robertson being one of them who drafted, and the late Emery Robertson, this is how they devised it, and so it has functioned the way it was intended to function. And so it's not the first time this has happened in the history of our party as well, you know. So it's part of what we have to do to seek to get the best candidate. I'm satisfied that we've done so, and now we look forward to contesting the elections. And for those of our supporters in Maracay who have been asking for us to look at the matter in this way, I'm sure that they're going to be very excited and go out and campaign and work to win the election. And this is the case for, I am hoping, all the candidates, and I know all the candidates, all over the constituencies, all over the country.
Omnibus operators here are being urged to follow the traffic rules and regulations to avoid unnecessary tickets and fines. The advice comes from Sergeant Kenny Jones, attached to the traffic branch of the RSVG Police Force, who was speaking on the Police Care Service Protect Facebook program discussing various issues relating to road safety. Many operators are charged with various offences due to the action of their conductors, and Sergeant Jones said drivers must take charge of their operation on the roads.
Well, Sergeant Martin, there's nothing under the Act that, that really speaks to the conductor being charged for a passenger entering the omnibus. So the driver who is the person who is really in charge of that omnibus, understand? And I need to advise a lot of the drivers that they really need to take charge of these omnibuses and take charge of also the conductor that is employed, that is working with them. Because what the drivers fail to understand most of the times, they commit a lot of the offense because of the conductors. And most of the time, the conductors are not the ones who will end up being charged for the driver.
Because I am driving. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I drive properly. I have no problem. But my conductor decides he's going to open the door and let in somebody. And they say, no, I am the driver. Would be charged for allowing the person to either enter or exit that particular vehicle.
Yes.
In recent times, there have been videos circulating on social media showing persons riding on the back of omnibuses. Sergeant Jones said such behavior is not only dangerous but illegal.
Must know that they have a duty of care to themselves, force. Understand? So when they take that risk, they must know within themselves that they are putting themselves at risk by doing that, and not just putting themselves at risk, but the Traffic Act speaks on where one should ride on a motor vehicle. And so that is something that is not accepted under the Traffic Act. We have prosecuted persons for riding other than on the inside of motor vehicles, and that is something that we strongly push in towards getting persons to desist from doing.
So the person is riding on the back of the vehicle. They are apprehended by the traffic department. Who is going to be charged, the person or the driver of the minibus?
Both of them can be charged under the Act. The driver can be charged for allowing that person to ride other than on the inside of the vehicle, and that person can also be charged for riding other than on the inside of that motor vehicle.
Also speaking on the program was Station Sergeant Panel Brown, who said there have been complaints from the traveling public about buses not taking them to their designated destination. Sergeant Brown said in such a case, the passenger can refuse to pay.
Mark the barrier, Pismo, and the bus, you know. We get a full chassis and we turn it back. And you haven't paid us yet, right? But the conductor now insists, I want my money.
You haven't taken the post to the direction to their destination?
So a post can refuse it?
Yes, because you haven't taken them to my destination. My final destination is the bus terminal, not Mahogany Bar or Pismo. You must take me to my final destination. But what we have seen happening is that passengers are selling themselves short. They value themselves and their hard-earned money. So they want to see themselves as, I don't know, but in a different light. And they will just acknowledge or accept what the conductor would give to them.
In more police news now, the police have arrested and charged Cornelius Johnny, a 65-year-old fisherman of Rose Place, with unlawful possession of ammunition. In a news release, the police say investigations carried out revealed that Johnny allegedly had in his possession 1 round of .32 ammunition without a license issued under the Firearms Act at Rose Place about 6:30 a.m. on Saturday, August 22nd. The accused would appear before the Serious Offences Court to answer to the charge. And the police have also arrested and charged Roderick Richards, a 59-year-old sales clerk of Enums, with resisting arrest, wounding, and damage to property. The accused reportedly resisted the arrest of a female police officer acting in the due execution of her duty by pulling away from her. In addition, he was charged with unlawfully and maliciously wounding the said police officer by striking her in her face with his hands. In the process, without a lawful excuse, Richards reportedly damaged the handle of the female police officer prescription glasses, valued $1,975. The incident occurred at Belmont on Friday, August 21st. Richards is expected to appear before the Calico Magistrate Court to answer to the charges. In other news, mangroves are well known for their benefits to the marine ecosystem, protecting the landscape from erosion and facilitating sustainable livelihood. On a recent trip to the mangroves at Union Island, it was discovered that the mangroves are helping to facilitate the production of honey. Technical Officer with Sustainable Grenadines, Odwin Andrews, highlighted how well the bees have adapted to the environment and the work done to help develop the honey industry on the island.
All right, well, the bees on Union Island, because speaking to, let's say, locals, the citizens here, you know, since the introduction of bees here through the Ministry of Agriculture, who we worked along with over the past 4 years, we've had a USAID funding project where we did some training in apiculture, that's bee rearing, and we trained some 15 individuals on how to handle bees. And since the introduction of those bees over those years, we've seen an increase in the plant because, you know, bees help to pollinate, and then with pollination, you know, you have germination of new plants and flowers and so forth. However, what we've realized is that the bees have adapted to the mangrove. So the mangrove system also helps again as a food source for these bees, because when you have the pollens from these mangrove, we realize that these bees will come and they will feed, and then they will head back to their hives.
The beekeepers on the island are using a unique flow hive system. Andrews highlights the benefit of this system as well as other infrastructures in place to boost production.
So to speak more about the structure that you saw along the trail coming down, that structure was put in place as an expansion for further development for the beekeepers on Union Island, because under the USAID funded project, which completed over a year ago, we installed some 27 hives in that area. But the demand for honey has increased locally, as we have seen walking along with the guys on the island, especially led by Mr. Ricardo Jealousy, to a very young and intelligent individual who is involved in beekeeping. They are pressed, you know, they need that supply because of the demand. So what we did is that we did our research and we found that there's an easier and simpler method for us to rear bees, and that's through the flow hive system, where these bees, they live in what you know, it's like a home, you know what I'm saying? It's like an upscale home for these bees. And as you can see in some of the videos that you will see in the clippings, the bees, they live within, you don't have to wear a suit to go to do harvesting, and they store more than the regular local hives. Of course, you can expand your locally built traditional hives, but these, they store more and it's easier access, quicker what you call harvesting. So it's easier for them, quick harvest, and then therefore they can, you know, supply the demand that is there on the local market.